You're going to showboat, knock down the shot.
For what his value is, it doesn't equate to winning basketball.
When you're talking about the greatest of greats, that's what you have to do. You have to nitpick.
We'll see you in the playoffs. We'll see you in the playoffs.
Welcome, everybody, into the Tee 'em Up podcast. I am Jace Eustace, joined, as always, by my co-host, my partner, Mr. Jarrett Huff. Jarrett, we had the draft last night. Some people kind of say that's the start of the next NBA season, depending on how everybody kind of looks at it. But the next generation, the next kind of tier of NBA superstars, a lot of teams are hoping are now officially here and they have teams. So personally, man, just how are you doing after watching the draft last night?
I'm pretty good. I'm already in go mode for next season. I can't wait to watch a lot of these teams, even the teams that aren't very good, because they picked up a lot of young, exciting players that are going to be, I think, a lot of fun to watch next season. So I can't wait.
Definitely. And then I'm sure we'll get into a lot more fun kind of when free agency now is kind of the almost the start of free agency, when things really start to get hectic around the NBA. A lot of trades, and now we know where these young prospects are going. So let's just start right then and there, as the draft obviously happened last night. And I think kind of off the bat, this probably surprised a lot of people. Orlando, it was kind of reported going in, it was almost set in stone. Jabari Smith out of Auburn was going to be the number one overall pick. That was kind of the way the reports were coming in. And then they kind of surprised everybody, and they drafted Paolo Banchero from Duke. So what did you kind of think of that pickup and the Magic going with Paolo with number one?
See, I thought it was going to be Paolo number one, despite the change in reports, which it was all over the place. I mean, when they said ahead of the draft that expect draft boards to be blown up, I think that's exactly what happened last night. I mean, if you listen to several of like the live podcast shows or ESPN's broadcast, whoever you were following along with the draft last night, no one knew how the top three was going to shake down, because there were like conflicting reports. Like the reports, like you said, that Jabari Smith was going to go first, and then that Oklahoma City was going to take Paolo, or Holmgren was going to drop all the way to third. And basically none of any of that happened. I believe, from what I know, Paolo didn't even work out with the Magic that much. So for a lot of people, it was kind of a surprise that they ended up taking him. I kind of figured they wouldn't take Chet, because I heard something like Chet was going to send his like medicals to Orlando.
He did that. I think it was to Orlando, and it was OKC, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, Presti didn't care. He's like, we're taking you. We want the new Twin Towers,
man.
But yeah, it was exciting. It was a shock.
Yeah. No, I did not see this coming. I kind of put out my prediction. I thought the Magic would go the perceived safe route, and I thought that was going to be Jabari Smith. I thought he was kind of the most NBA ready guy that could come in and kind of affect winning day one. So I thought they were going to go with Jabari. I thought that was pretty set in stone. But I also was on record on our TikTok over there. I think Paolo Banchero will be the best player in this draft 3 years from now when we look back. I think we're going to look at it similarly how we look to that Jason Tatum draft. We're coming in. I thought Jason Tatum was the best prospect coming into that draft. He was obviously drafted third to the Boston Celtics, which is where I thought Paolo was going to go in this draft. I thought he was going to be that third pick. So I was surprised. I was happy to see it, because I think Orlando made the smart decision. They kind of made, the choice that they went with the big body, 6'10", which obviously I think Jabari Smith is as well. But they went with the Duke product, to the guy who's been a highly touted guy. And he's also just a leader in the locker room. And we saw that at Duke. The guy is an absolute leader. He leads by example. And I think they might have had concerns, not so much with Jabari, but with Chet, kind of the personality a little bit, I think, didn't really fit what they were trying to build. And I think, what they kind of found last season with Wagner, now they're going to be able to compare Wagner. You got Cole Anthony down there. Now you got Paolo Banchero. So you kind of started to get this little youth movement going on in Orlando, and they got a lot of talented guys down there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them make another push and find themselves higher up in the standings as we get down to the end of next year. But moving on to number two, we did see the kind of unicorn that we've talked about, where you either love them or you hate them, is what it kind of seems like for most people. And that's Chet Holmgren out of Gonzaga, went number 2 to OKC. How did you think of this pick?
I thought it was the right pick. I mean, at this point, you kind of like, I don't think any team really had any wrong option with drafting within the top three, because the Rockets, they're going to take whoever fell to them. So they made the right pick, obviously. And then really with the Magic, their goal is to take the best available player. So when it gets to OKC, if you take whoever goes first, you have two great options to pick from.
Yeah.
And I think most like Chet is probably going to be like their best available option. He's a perimeter player. I think he's going to be fit in well with Shea Gilgeous and Josh Giddey because Josh Giddey can play make.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that team. It makes them really interesting. Um, and it gives them rim protection too. I don't see anything wrong with the pick. I really like it for him.
Yeah, I think they had to make this pick. I think obviously sitting at number 2, I think we kind of knew Chet wasn't going to be one. I think it was between Paolo and it was going to be Jabari for number 1. So I think they were pretty set on Chet for a while. And I think it's a smart decision for them because 1, he's box office. Everybody wants to see it. And 2, I just think I agree with you. He at that point was probably the best prospect that's going to be sitting on the board. I would have disagreed if Paolo was still sitting there, but obviously he went number 1, so they didn't have to worry about that. But with Chet, I worry about it. I worry about his frame. I worry about if he's going to be able to kind of withstand the grind of an NBA season on, like I think it was Kendrick Perkins who talked about it last night on one of the broadcasts. He said, if you bang knees with the wrong guy for Paolo or for Jabari, that could be a week, but for Chet, that could be a month or two. Like you never know with kind of his build. And I know they've been talking about how, yes, he's eating a lot. He's trying to bulk up. He's lifting weight. He's doing all the things that he should be doing. And that's great because it's love to see the young players investing in their bodies. That's what they should be doing. But I worry about Chet. But I think for the Thunder, that was the perfect pick. That was the pick that they had to kind of make. It does make him interesting because he kind of plays a different role, obviously, than Shea and Giddey. Giddey is more of the kind of point forward role. He's a distributor on that team. Shea, I think, he's a scorer, man. He's a stud. But I agree with you. And then at 3, the Rockets, Jabari Smith. I think you absolutely nailed it when you said the Rockets, they were going to pick whichever of the top 3 fell to them, ended up with Jabari Smith. And hey, Jabari Smith is a fantastic player coming out of Auburn. Obviously, he had a lot of hype. He had the hype surrounding about possibly going number 1, and it was well-deserved. So I think all 3 of these guys ended up in okay situations. Now you got the Rockets with Jabari Smith, kind of pair him with Jalen Green, with Kevin Porter Jr., those type of guys, that youth movement going on down in Houston. And all 3 of these teams, really, that's what they were looking for. They're looking for that next bona fide superstar. So we'll see a few years from now how many of these guys hit, if it's one of them, if it's 2 of them, or heck, if it's none of them, because you never really know when it comes to some of these prospects. So wish them the best of luck, man. But I think those were the top 3. I don't think anybody else saw anybody else going in those top 3. It was just everybody kind of disagreed on the order. But I thought things got interesting right there at number 4, because a lot of people going in said Jaden Ivey is the 4th best player in this draft, right outside of that top 3 out of Purdue. I did not think the Kings, because they're the Kings, and this is what they do. They miss superstars by 1 pick. I called this right. If you go back and look at the TikTok, I had them getting Keegan Murray out of Iowa at number 4, and that's who they went and got. I don't know. What did you think about that pick?
See, with this pick, I was okay with them not taking Ivy, mainly because that'd be 3 point guards in a row. I mean, we already saw the issue created with Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox, where they had to move Halliburton, which I thought was the wrong move. Because obviously, look at what Halliburton did with the Pacers after that. But if they just drafted Jaden Ivey, it's the same product you're getting again. It's just 2 guards, and then you have Davion Mitchell. It's a logjam. So I think they made the right move here with getting Keegan Murray. It's a forward that could hopefully fill a different role for them than all of the players they've been drafting the past couple of years, because you can't continue to draft, in some cases, the best available player if that player is playing the same position as your other players when you went the route of drafting the best available player. So I also think Jaden Ivey lucked out right there because he's not going to Sacramento, and good for him. Great. For him.
Oh, man. I completely agree. I thought it kind of sucks because we love to kind of bang on the Kings, and a lot of it is well-deserved. Obviously, we're not, just pulling things out of a hat to kind of make fun of Sacramento. But this was the right move. I think if they got Jaden Ivey, we would be saying the same exact thing. Just like, man, why are you getting another guard? Like, it's not what you need. You went out there, you got Sabonis last year, trying to build a complete roster. This is not the way to do it. And kind of the counter to that would be then the Pistons getting Jaden Ivey at 5. And I got to tell you, man, I love this pick for the Detroit Pistons. And slowly but surely, I'm becoming a Detroit Pistons fan. Like it's not, maybe not a fan, but I'm paying attention. I am paying attention to the Detroit Pistons because Jaden Ivey pairing that with Cade Cunningham, who Cade Cunningham, people would argue, he's a point guard. He's not really a point guard. He's more of a point forward. He's a big body. He kind of plays the point position. He's a great distributor of the ball, but he plays differently. And Jaden Ivey isn't naturally a distributor. He's more of a athletic point guard like Russell Westbrook, kind of John Morant, who Russell Westbrook, yeah, don't get me wrong, he's had great assist numbers, but John Morant, we've kind of seen early on, he's more of a scorer. He's uber athletic. That's what Jaden Ivey kind of reminds a lot of these players of, or what are these kind of commentators of. I think the pairing of Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham is going to work in this league. And I think for the Pistons, it would have been a huge mistake to kind of sit there and say, oh, well, we had the first pick in the last draft. We got Cade Cunningham. They kind of play similar positions. We should go with someone else. I think in this situation for Detroit, Jaden Ivey sitting there at 5 was the absolute perfect pick.
Oh, yeah. He fell right into their laps. I mean, we could be sitting here saying, oh, my God, the Kings picked another point guard so easily because I was half expecting it to happen, but the Kings did not out-king themselves. And so they went with their right choice. And Ivey falling to Detroit, perfect scenario for them. I, like you, am also paying attention to this team, not as a fan, but as a concerned citizen of a fan base where we play in the same division.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like obviously Detroit's not going to be making the playoffs tomorrow.
No,
but it's a team to look out for, definitely, because I think they
could be looking playing.
Yeah,
they
maybe
could.
I mean,
they could be. Yeah,
I would not rule it out, especially just given how deep the East can be. With some of those teams around 10, 11, 12. They could definitely be a contender in that mix. Because from what we saw from Cade, the sky's the limit, honestly, in terms of where they can get into this playing situation.
Sadiq Bey too dropped it. He had a 50 piece.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of they already had a lot of great young players. And then Jaden Ivey was the tip of the iceberg for this draft for what Detroit was able to do. So I'm going to be looking out for them. Maybe we could reignite the Bulls-Pistons rivalry that's been dead for the last 30 years.
Hey, we'll see. I don't know if I'm ready to declare myself a fan yet, but I'm paying attention. I was a fan of Cade Cunningham, obviously, coming into this last season. I think he did great, and obviously just kind of being heard, and obviously the season that Scotty Barnes had up in Toronto. If it weren't for that, you might be looking at the reigning Rookie of the Year, but Cade Cunningham is no slouch there, and he's going to continue to get better as well. So then kind of moving forward, there's some names that maybe some people might not have heard of. The Pacers at 6, they drafted Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona. At number 7, the Blazers, I was happy to see them go with Shaedon Sharpe out of Kentucky. He was kind of the big unknown because he didn't play at Kentucky, but coming into Kentucky, he was I think he was the number 1 high school prospect coming into that. So Shaedon Sharpe is definitely a guy that can go get a bucket. It's just kind of that unknown with him. I think I said it perfectly in the TikTok where I said they just need to take a shot at another superstar. And Shaedon Sharpe could become that guy. It's obviously just unknown at this point. Pelicans kind of did what I thought they were going to do. They got Dyson Daniels out of the G League, who he's continuing to get better. He's a great defensive player. He's a good distributor of the ball. So I kind of liked what they did. The Spurs kind of did what the Spurs do, man. They kind of get those underrated guys that maybe you've only seen in the NCAA tournament. They got Jeremy Sochan out of Baylor. You might remember him. He usually had the different colored hair. Mixed in obviously with the Baylor jerseys, and then that last pick in the top 10, the Wizards got Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin. So kind of in that top 10, obviously there's kind of that distinction between the top 3. You can even throw Jaden Ivey in, maybe top 4 prospects, and then kind of the rest of the guys that fell in that top 10. But this I wouldn't say, we're going to be sitting here and having 10 Hall of Famers in this draft class, but also it was deep. I think a lot of these guys can come in and make contributions kind of off the bench pretty immediately. Kind of the other big names, were Jalen Duren, who went at 13 out of Memphis. He was drafted by the Hornets, then he was traded to the Knicks, and then he ended up with Detroit with Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. So a lot of those things, man, a lot of things went crazy. I think we saw 4 Duke starters go in the first round. 4 of the 5 Duke starters went in the first round. And then the 5th one went in the second round. So just a lot of quality players, man. But I just want to, besides breaking down each one of these picks, I'm just curious, when you kind of look around at all the teams and what they did, who do you kind of see as who won last night? Like, who's kind of the biggest winners of this NBA draft?
Well, I'd say aside from the obvious top 3 teams who I all would consider winners, I would say the Detroit Pistons. Honestly, the trades they made through the draft, having Jaden Ivey fall to them at 5, when we considered him a top 4 consensus guy. Like, obviously he wasn't going to jump into the top 3, but at 4, he seemed like he would be a lock, especially with the Kings. So I would say that the Pistons, for just how they managed their draft and how they operated with the pick swaps and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I said the same thing. I got Detroit. To me, they absolutely stole this draft because the Kings did what they did. They pass up on superstars for bench talent with low ceiling. And that is no slight to Keegan Murray. I think he's a great player. I just don't think he has that superstar kind of ceiling to him. I think he will become a really good player in this league. I like his build. I like what he did at Iowa. But to be able to get Jaden Ivey at 5, I think him and Cade Cunningham are really going to work. They have the potential to be the backcourt of the future, the way that I kind of look at it, but they weren't finished. They organized that 3-team trade, landed them Jalen Duren from Memphis, which a lot of people, he was another one of those guys. He didn't play a lot in Memphis. We saw him a little bit towards the end of the season in the NCAA tournament. I just love everything the Pistons did last night. I'm low-key really paying attention to this team. I think they did great. And my other winner was just Orlando, because I think they got the best player in this draft with Paolo Banchero. I was really happy to see them go out and get him. I think he has the superstar potential. I think he has the same and as much upside for superstar potential as Chet Holmgren does, but with a better build. I was surprised to kind of see them get him at 1, but I think 3 years from now, we look back and say that's the exact right move that they should have made. And obviously, I think when we're going to talk about losers, I think it kind of just leads into what our next overall topic was going to be. And that is just, man, what did the New York Knicks do last night? Because it was all over the place. Absolutely insane. And I think I put it together. So I'm going to kind of sum it up, and I'm going to let you kind of give your take on what the Knicks did last night. So the Knicks traded their 11th pick, which was Ousmane Dieng, to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a 2023 first rounder from Denver, Detroit, and Washington. Then they traded a 2023 Denver pick and 4 second picks to the Hornets for the 13th pick, which was Jalen Duren. They then traded Duren and Kemba Walker to Detroit for a 2025 first round pick. So all in all, they traded the 11th pick, Kemba Walker, 4 second round picks, and they received 3 future firsts. That's what they did last night, and ended up with no players.
See, I think they're making moves for what they want to do this summer. Part of that is attaining Jalen Brunson, who is definitely going to get a bag this summer, and they're going to overpay for him.
Yeah.
Because his father's already on their coaching staff, or they're going to try to find some delusional way to acquire either Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant this summer with picks. We all know the Knicks history. I mean, there's a reason why Kevin Durant did not go to New York. It's because he talked to DeAndre Jordan, a former New York Knick, who said, yeah, you don't want to bother with that franchise. If you want to go to New York, go to Brooklyn. Kyrie, for whatever reason, could end up there. Who knows? But I wouldn't want him. But I think a lot of this was kind of just clear the way for Jalen Brunson. I mean, they got off Kemba's contract so they could bring him in, but Jalen Brunson's not the answer to the Knicks' problem. Definitely the potential of young players probably could have been. I mean, Ousmane Dieng, really nice player. Yeah. Probably could have fit in with that team really well, but he's not going there. You know what? You know why? Because he's going to Oklahoma to play with Chet.
Yeah.
And you know what? Good
Yeah,
for him. I mean, sucks to be stuck in the middle of the country in Oklahoma City, but at least you're going to a competent organization. I'm sorry, Supersonics fans. It hurts me to say that too. But yeah, no, the Knicks, they did it again. Bing bong.
They did
it to themselves.
Oh man,
jeez,
dude, this was crazy. Yeah, and you mentioned too. Obviously, he's going to Oklahoma City to play with Chet, and now we have Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, and then you mix in who could very well be the absolute best center in this draft class, and Jalen Duren. We just haven't seen him that much, so he's going to Detroit. So that's another guy for Detroit, another big body, which I thought they might make a run at kind of DeAndre Ayton. I don't think they do that anymore. I think they kind
still could.
I still don't think they do that anymore, but basically the Pistons, we don't look at the Pistons as a well-run organization, especially in our lifetime. Obviously they have had a great history, but in our lifetime, we don't really look at them as that. But they were able to just say, hey, we'll eat the Kemba Walker contract, and you give us the guy. He was the 13th pick, but you could argue he's a top 5 talent in this draft class just for the Kemba contract. They have the cap space. Obviously, they're going to make some moves in free agency, but there's not a lot of superstars out there that are just going to be unrestricted free agents you can just outbid on this offseason. This was such a smart move by Detroit. This was easy. Like when they got this phone call, I don't know who made the call for the Knicks. They were like, are you serious? Like, yeah, we'll do it right now. Like, no questions asked. I will do that. Like the Knicks are the biggest loser of last night. And I don't hate Knick fans because like they haven't really been good. So they don't kind of have this in our lifetime. They haven't really been able to stand.
A couple weeks of last season, though,
they did, but they haven't really been able to stand on any sort of hill. And shout out to the broadcast boys on TikTok and all over the place. I don't know if you've seen these guys. They're hilarious. They do great work. They were doing some work with Bleacher Report last night. They were sitting there live reacting to the draft, and they're Knick fans, and they were going through it, man. I felt so bad. They were looking at what Shams was tweeting. They were looking at what Woj was tweeting. And they're like, oh, we traded for Duren and we traded away Kemba and you're telling, oh, no, we have none of those guys. We're ending up with no one, not the 11th pick, not the 13th pick. We got rid of Kemba, and, we're going to have a 6th grader in a few years. So I felt so bad for them. But the Knicks continue to do what they've done in our lifetime, and that is just absolute dysfunction. It has been dysfunction, and they put an exclamation point on that last night because this was a cluster F for the Knicks, man. This was crazy.
Another thing that they should have done last night that they didn't do is trade Derrick Rose, because get my guy out of there.
He's stuck, man.
Free D Rose, man. He needs to get out of there.
He's
Help
stuck.
My boy.
And they need him.
God.
They need him.
They traded the wrong point guard.
They traded the wrong point guard. Man. Well, you kind of hinted at it. They traded the wrong point guard, but they might be looking at a new point guard. And this one already resides in the Big Apple. I'm talking about Kyrie Irving, man. Kyrie, let's go back into it. We talked so much about the Nets this last season, and rightfully so, but not to be lost in the NBA draft. But I'm just going to put it simple. All hell is breaking loose in Brooklyn right now. So Kyrie might be looking for a new team. And while he didn't officially kind of request a sign and trade, a report came out that Kyrie would be interested in moving to the Lakers, Clippers, Knicks, Heat, Mavericks, and 76ers if he chooses to leave. Now, none of these teams currently have the space to sign him without any sort of sign and trade option from the Nets. What is going on with Kyrie? Have we seen him play his last game in a Nets jersey?
I think we have, and I kind of hope we have. All right,
in this saga.
Brooklyn Nets, let me tell you something. Stop trying to build super teams. You can't do it. You tried this in 2013 by trading for the Boston Ray Allen was gone at that point. So you tried trading for Boston's Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and then Jason Terry's a little sweetener. Be like, hey, we're the next team to take down the Heatles. Let's do it. No. Those buns were in the oven too long. That team was way past its prime. Darren Williams, Joe Johnson. Oh, Brooke Lopez and adding Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, who are on their last legs. No. So then you try almost a decade later, like, hey, another super team. Let's go. We'll get KD, Kyrie, and boom, we'll throw James Harden on that. Let's go. Problem was, in some cases, they were again too old and dysfunctional. Now you have the whole Kyrie James Harden ideologies, and then Kevin Durant, who's best friends with Kyrie, is like, well, if Kyrie leaves, even though it would make total sense for you guys to let him walk because he's a nutcase when it comes to just dealing with on a daily basis, I want to leave because that's my friend, and I don't want to play with you guys anymore. It's no fun here. So you're about to just lose Kevin Durant, or at least Kevin Durant's interest in playing with your organization. You're going to lose Kyrie Irving potentially as an asset unless you could do a realistic sign and trade, but your only viable options and gain stuff in return is a 2081 first round pick from the Lakers, and
they're hanging on to that
Russell
pick.
Westbrook, because there's nothing else of
you can have
matching value. That
you can have Talon Horton Tucker too. You can have him.
Really? We can have Talon Horton Tucker too.
You want Kendrick Nunn? We can throw him in as well. He hasn't played a game yet. I like Kendrick Nunn. He opted in. Well, why wouldn't you opt in? Of course he's opting in.
Oh my God. The Nets are, I mean, they kind of laid this bed themselves. They made the bed that they're laying in right now.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we knew the issues with Kyrie Irving. I mean, as soon as he wanted that trade in Cleveland, you're like, oh, something's why would he want to live the second greatest player of all time, who basically, if he goes to your franchise, he guarantees that you're going to be competitive the entire time he's there and probably be in the finals.
You're going to go to a finals. Yeah,
exactly.
You're going to go 1 or 2 or 3. Yeah, you're going to go.
So he leaves a stable situation to go to Boston.
Oh, yeah.
Completely blows the roof off of that. And you thought he cut Boston at the knees. Oh, well, look, Boston was in the finals this year without Kyrie, and they went to the conference finals when he missed the playoffs his first season there.
Absolutely.
In Jason Tatum's rookie season. So he goes to the Nets, barely plays his first season there. Then he gets hurt last year. And then we didn't even think he'd play this season with his whole COVID not wanting to get vax situation. When is this team going to learn? Honestly, I expect Kyrie to be in a different jersey. The Nets would be kidding themselves to make it work, because I don't think this guy wants to play basketball. And he, like, the way he talks, he's like, I don't think he's like, he doesn't feel like he should be playing basketball. He feels like the teams are beneath him. It's the wildest thing. I don't get it.
Yeah. So people will say, so obviously everybody that listens to the podcast knows I'm a Miami Heat fan. That's my team. But obviously I kind of root for the Lakers because I'm a big LeBron guy. I love to see LeBron succeed as well. So the fact that both of my kind of two teams that I follow closely were listed on this list was, something, okay, I got to take a look at it. It was a little scary. And just for a breakdown for this Kyrie situation, message to Miami. And I know I don't really have to send this message because you guys are smart. You guys are intelligent. Pat Riley knows what he's doing. You guys have a great front office, one of the best in the league. No, just no, it's not going to work. But Kyrie is not the answer. I know you're a little upset. You came one game short of going back to the NBA Finals. That's all right. I'm okay with needing to improve. I understand sometimes we got to make sacrifices. Might have to trade off some guys that we don't want to, maybe bring another star. Still holding out hope for maybe Bradley Beal. That's my guy. That's the one I'd like to see. Kyrie's not the answer. No, do not even take his agent's phone call. Now, this is a weird situation. The Lakers. I'd do it if I'm the Lakers. I would do it because the alternative isn't better. The Lakers are in a situation where there's no easy way out. They're banking everything on LeBron continuing to play like an MVP at 38 years old, and they're banking on AD's health. Those are the number one and number two things that they need to have a successful season. Number three, they brought in to be Russell Westbrook. It didn't really work. I know they didn't have a lot of time together, and I get that, but you could tell it wasn't fluent. I think Kyrie would fit better as that third option if number one happens and if number two happens. If Kyrie's your number 3, or Kyrie can still be his weird self, he can still, yeah, you kind of just bake in the fact he'll probably take a couple weeks off at a hiatus just because in the middle of the season, just because he wants to. You have to bake that in. But I think with having LeBron, kind of maybe this newfound, I don't want to say newfound respect for LeBron, but maybe just maybe Kyrie has this little like, hey, maybe the grass isn't always greener type of situation with LeBron. We've seen the only time he's had success in the postseason in his career has been with LeBron right there at his side. So if I'm the Lakers, why not? Like, if I can go get Kyrie, give up Russell Westbrook, give up that stupid 2026 first round pick that we hear about more than anything else, I do it. But with KD, this is where the Nets really went wrong because it seems like they're starting to burn the bridge with KD. And I'm not the biggest KD guy. KD is one that you do not want to burn. We saw what happened where one fight with Golden State ended up with him leaving that situation, where now KD, if he wants out from the Nets, let's be honest, he's going to get out from the Nets if that's what he wants to do. But if you're KD, where are you going? Like, what options are sitting out there right now? I see that smirk because I know you posted it last night, and I'm sure you have a take for it. I'm just going to say before you get into it, not happening, but go ahead. Where would KD end up? Where can he possibly go?
So this is my own fault. I didn't want to read into this BS,
Go
but
for it.
I accidentally took a sip of the Kool-Aid and I'm paying for it now. If KD wants out, if Kyrie leaves and this situation with KD and the Nets is untenable, it makes a lot of sense for Kevin Durant to find his way to one of the largest sports markets in the entire world.
Yeah, because that worked out so well in New York.
Why doesn't KD to go to Chicago?
Ah, Lord.
And there's been lots of links to it. KD has sent out many a tweets in the past about his love for the Windy City and the team dressed in red that plays there. He's talked about how great it would be to follow in MJ's footsteps. And let's be honest here, KD, he's really big on the narrative. Why do you think he gets so like his feathers furled when people tweet at him on social media like, oh, you left the Warriors, that was stupid. Oh, Steph's better than you because he won without you. Well, guess what Kevin Durant could do to, in his mind, be like, no, I am a top 10 player all time and I am better than Steph and I don't need the Steph and the Warriors because guess what I just did? I went to Chicago and I brought them a championship, which is something that hasn't been done since Michael Jordan's been there. Look what I did for these people. If Kevin Durant can get that thought into his head, I could see him talking himself into wanting to play in Chicago. I mean, look, he posted that picture of him just playing in a Tony Kukoc jersey, which I have to say, Kevin Durant, Bulls number 7 looks really good on you. I think you should go for it.
I think you should go terrible.
Oh, it looks great. It
looks awful.
It looks great.
Oh, God.
I am all for it. But when Vooch found his way to Chicago, he talked about how much he liked that young Bulls roster with Zach LaVine, Kobe White, which hopefully Kobe White's gone this summer. So sorry, KD. I hope you're not too attached to Kobe White. But hey, Zach LaVine, who's going to sign a 5-year deal, is going to be here.
Okay, so you're talking they're going to get both. So you're talking they're going to be able to hang on to LaVine and still organize a sign and trade possibly for, well, it wouldn't be a sign and trade. It would just be a straight up trade for KD. You think that all could fit?
You definitely have to move Vooch. The problem is it'd probably be another top heavy roster, but I'm in the mindset. Well, I mean, they're going to get Gobert or try to trade for Gobert and still have LaVine and DeRozan.
So, man, how much you think they can fit on this roster?
The Bulls, no, I'm not saying they're going to get Gobert and KD. No, I'm saying the Bulls are a real player for Gobert at one point. I don't think that's going to happen now. KD's contract, I don't think is much bigger or bigger at all than Gobert's. So if the Bulls were in line to trade for Gobert, financially, I think it'd be possible to get KD as well, as long as the Nets would go for whatever trade package the Bulls sent. And with DeMar DeRozan's age, I'm all for a win now situation with blow up the future if it means we can land someone like Kevin Durant. Yeah, go for it. Because it's been so long since the Bulls have had a superstar Actually, the Bulls haven't had a superstar of that level since Jordan. Derrick Rose, maybe for 2 seasons, but Rose was never as good as KD is now. So
I don't see he's going to end up in Chicago. I will throw one team out there. Check out Detroit. That's all I'm saying.
Oh no, he's never going.
Check out Detroit.
He needs a market. He needs a market.
Hey, he is the market.
And Detroit's still too young.
LeBron spent the majority of his career in Cleveland, and dude's a billionaire. So you can be the market.
But Kevin Durant's doesn't have LeBron's draw.
I understand that, but just real quickly, Jeremy Grant trade. He's heading into Portland. Does this move the needle for you at all, or kind of what's your take on this?
It does move the needle a little bit for me. You're looking at Portland previous to this trade without Damian Lillard, and we saw at the end of the season there are a lot of guys that like you delete off the roster in 2K because you have no clue who they are when you're building in custom rosters.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of names that have probably spent a lot of time in the G League or need to be in the G League right now. So I was always concerned about the depth of the team when Lillard comes back because we know that's not a free agent destination. And I think the Jeremy Grant trade, it's great for both parties because Grant still kind of wants to be like the guy for whatever. I don't know why he thought a team was going to take him and be like, yes, you are our guy now. Because, hey, Grant's a talented player, but he's not a first option. So with Damian Lillard already being there, and then with the gap of CJ McCollum's offense, with CJ McCollum now being in New Orleans, and that role of just you have to find like 20 plus points every night to replace that with, I think Jeremy Grant fills a lot of that, like that missing hole. And it also kind of like Portland's not repeating its same mistake where its two best players are in its backcourt. So I really like this move for both Grant, and I love this move for Portland. Now, does it make Portland a contender? No. Does it guarantee that Lillard's going to be competing for championships? No. But I think it's a step in the right direction if this team is still like bought into building around Damian Lillard. If they believe Lillard's going to still be a superstar for the next couple seasons, and if they believe that they're on a timeline where they can provide him with the team that can eventually one day compete.
Yeah, for me with Jeremy Grant, I just hope there's more to come basically for name's sake. I think Jeremy Grant is a great number 3, but I'm not sure if he even fills that entire hole that CJ McCollum left as far as the scoring and the distributing that he did. So I think they need something big, and that's not usually something that the Blazers usually pursue, especially in free agency. It's really hard, you touched on, to get people to come to Portland in free agency to sign those big contracts. I say this about most teams: go for Bradley Beal, go for DeAndre Ayton. But right now, currently, there's not really a big other star out there that you can go and try to grab unless you're going to make a play for Kevin Durant, which who knows, he may become available. And if that's the case, give up whatever you need to if you're Portland to try to pair Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard. So you got to get someone that can provide you constant impact on that team. And I like Jeremy Grant. He's a number 3, though. He's not a number 2. And I think we have to keep our expectations as that. He's continued to kind of inflate his numbers on bad teams over the last few years. So I think he's a good player. I don't think he's an absolute great player. And I think he can kind of fill that Andrew Wiggins role that he did for the Warriors, just on the offensive end instead of more on the defensive end. So I think there's still work to do in Portland, but I think it's a good step in the right direction. I just want to see more if I'm Damian Lillard. So that's going to lead us now to our final topic on the TM Up podcast. And that is, of course, TM Up. So Jared, technically season 2, I guess, who's getting your first technical foul for this offseason, where we're at right now?
All right. My first technical foul is going out to Chicago Bulls fans. And here's why. Some of y'all are assholes on Twitter. You guys are jerks.
Man.
Like, okay, I get it. Vooch is probably the most likely piece to move if we make any trade, whether it's for Gobert, whether some miracle happens and I don't know, God chooses the franchise and we get Kevin Durant. I don't know. But yeah, Vooch is probably going to go. But there's also a world where, hey, we start the season and Nikola Vucevic is a Chicago Bull.
Absolutely.
And lay the hell off the man. What has he ever done to us? Sure, his 3-point shot isn't always consistent, but he has given a lot to this franchise. His trade was the one who was like, oh shit, are the Bulls coming back? And guess what? I don't know if DeMar DeRozan comes to Chicago if Vucevic isn't here.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
So lay off the man on Twitter. Stop harassing him about the trade. He knows he's probably going to end up in a trade if it does happen. But don't be jerks about it, whether he's on his way out or not. We like Vooch. We scream his name whenever he does anything in the United Center. Vooch. Knock it off, assholes.
Man.
Clean up Chicago Bulls Nation on that end. Not all of us. Not all of us.
Go.
Just the people that are harassing Vooch. Why?
There you go, man. My technical foul this week, I am passing it out to the newest Oklahoma City Thunder, Chet Holmgren.
Oh.
Look, man, the spotlight's on you. You know, there's questions obviously about your durability, your strength, and if you're going to be able to withstand the NBA beating. You do not need to come into the league with this arrogance that you're already the best player that has ever graced that stage, has ever picked up a basketball. I'm all for confidence. I think you have to be confident in your ability, especially when you're talking about these guys are the cream of the crop. You know, they deserve to be there. They deserve to be on the highest stage that basketball has to offer. But, man, we've heard nothing from him during this whole draft process that hasn't come across as just arrogance and not confidence. Like, have some humility. It's okay. It's okay to say, you know, I'm looking forward to learning something from these guys that have been there, that done that. You know, there's still a long way to go. You know, I need to work on my body a little bit. There are parts of my game I would love to improve. And we saw that with Jabari Smith and we saw that with Paolo, where they had the confidence, where Paolo said, I think I'm the number 1 draft pick. He wasn't sitting there saying, who's the best player in the league? Me in 2 weeks when I get there. Like, I think I already teed him up for that specific comment, but it just continued down this road where, man, like, you're not going to make fans this way when you come in with this confidence, like, or with this arrogance, I should say. You come in thinking you know everything, and we've seen players come in with that attitude, and we've seen them get bounced from this league pretty quickly. And I'm just saying, I do not wish this for you, but with your body, with your build type, it's very possible injuries might become part of your story. And to be unwilling to learn from that, to maybe if you got a veteran on that roster that's coming to be like, hey, man, you know, come work out with me. We need to lift more. We need to do this, you know, get a nutritionist, like things like that. Bro, you could quickly lose a lot of your supporters in Oklahoma City and around this league if you go in with that mindset. So it's a technical foul, but I hope it's motivation for Chet Holmgren, because, man, I want to see him succeed, but this arrogance, it's not going to get you anywhere in this league.
I totally see, because remember when Lonzo Ball came into the NBA?
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to go, like Pat Beverly, the first night in Lonzo Ball's NBA career.
Yep.
Destroyed the man. Ball only had 2 points. And I was like rooting against Lonzo Ball. It's crazy now because now I root for the man so much because he's on my team. But like, the hate was palpable. A lot of people want to see Lonzo fail.
Absolutely.
And this Chet Holmgren situation, I could see where players come out the first week and make him a poster threat.
Absolutely.
So like, I could see a team like the entire Memphis Grizzlies team, like Dillon Brooks, whoever, just want to put that man on a poster.
Absolutely.
And like, everyone wants to come from him.
Exactly. So it's in the NBA, you're going to get everybody's best shot. Like, you're not going to be facing, you know, San Jose State. Like, you're in the NBA. You're going after everybody's best shot. And coming in and immediately putting a target on your back when you don't know what it's like to step on an NBA court, it's a bold move. It's a bold move, Cotton. We're going to have to see how that one plays out. But, man, that's all we have this week for the TMO podcast. I want to thank you guys all for joining us. And be sure to follow along on all of our social media platforms for some fun NBA content throughout the week. So that's a wrap for season 2, episode 1, I guess I should say, of the TMO podcast. Season. Moving up in this world. I want to thank you guys all for listening. It's been fun, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
And as always, remember, KD loves that young Chicago roster.
Oh, man, no, we don't. No, we don't.